This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours. Curated by Lizzie Jennings and read by an automated voice. Published March 24th, 2026 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. Iran war. Israel yesterday carried out a large wave of airstrikes in central Tehran, targeting command centers, the Israeli military said. It said more than 50 additional targets were hit overnight, including ballistic missile storage and launch sites. Iran today launched multiple waves of missiles at Israel, damaging a multi-story apartment building in Tel Aviv, Reuters reports. We're doing a 5-day period, President Trump told reporters yesterday about his pause on hitting Iranian power plants. We'll see how that goes, and if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out. Tyler Pager, David E. Sanger, and Farnaz Fasihi report for the New York Times. Trump told CNN yesterday that there are 15 points of agreement between the United States and Iran after talks this weekend. Trump added that the renewed talks began soon after he threatened to bomb Iran's energy infrastructure in retribution for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf, yesterday publicly denied that any negotiations with the United States about terms to end the war were underway. In interviews, 4 Iranian officials said that the messages passed over recent days, through intermediaries and in direct messages with U.S. envoys, were simply probes on how to de-escalate the conflict. U.S. officials said the contacts were in a very early stage and not substantive. Arab mediators expressed skepticism that an agreement could be reached, noting that the two sides remained far apart. Aditi Sangal reports. Tyler Pager, David E. Sanger, and Farnaz Fasihi report for the New York Times. Summer Said, Alexander Ward, Benoit Faucon, and Lawrence Norman report for the Wall Street Journal. The Trump administration is considering Iran's parliament speaker Kalibaf as a potential negotiating partner and future leader of Iran, according to 2 administration officials. The sources added that the White House is not ready to commit to any one person and is hoping to stress test multiple candidates as they look for someone willing to make a deal. An Israeli official told Axios that U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner had been in touch with Kalibaf in recent days, adding that mediating countries were trying to convene a meeting in Islamabad with Kalibaf and a team of U.S. negotiators. Dasha Burns, Eli Stokels, and Diana Narodzi report for Politico. Barak Ravid reports. Senior U.S. military officials are weighing a possible deployment of a combat brigade of about 3,000 soldiers from the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division to support operations in Iran, defense officials said. If the plan goes ahead, these forces could be used to seize Iran's Karg Island. Officials are also considering an attack by about 2,500 troops from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is currently on its way to the region, to seize the island. Greg Jaffe and Eric Schmidt report for the New York Times. Iran war. Political response. Bahrain has put forward a draft UN Security Council resolution, backed by Gulf states and the United States, that would authorize countries to use all necessary means to protect commercial shipping in and around the Strait of Hormuz, according to a text seen by Reuters yesterday. The draft text also demands that Iran immediately cease all attacks in the strait. An alternative draft proposal put forward by France avoids naming Iran and instead calls for de-escalation and diplomacy, while encouraging defensive measures such as coordinated escorts in the strait, rather than authorizing force. Russia-Ukraine war. Russia plans to open 4 ground control stations for long-range attack drones in Belarus, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said yesterday, citing information from Ukraine's military intelligence service. Zelensky also said that Ukraine has irrefutable evidence that Russia continues to provide intelligence to Iran, helping the Iranian regime to strike targets more accurately. Reuters reports. Yulia Dysa reports for Reuters. Sudanese civil war. Chad has begun emergency relocation of refugees from its border with Sudan as its army prepares to deploy in the area in response to cross-border attacks, an official from Chad's refugee agency said yesterday. Chadian President Mohamed Idris Deby last week ordered the army to prepare to retaliate after a drone attack for Sudan killed 17 people. Mohamed Ramadan reports for Reuters. Other global developments. Germany plans to build a €10 billion, $11.6 billion US dollars, national military satellite network, independent of a parallel European program. EU lawmakers said that Germany's initiative risks undermining attempts to bolster collective defense capabilities. Germany envisages 100 low Earth orbit satellites exclusively for military communications, while the EU project, which aims to deploy 290 satellites by 2029, is designed to establish a unified, space-based communication system. Maria Rugamer and Gianluca Lonastro report for Reuters. China is conducting mapping and monitoring operations across the Pacific, Indian, and Arctic Oceans, according to ship tracking data reviewed by Reuters. While officially for scientific and commercial purposes, 9 naval experts say the information would be crucial for military operations against the United States and its allies. Experts say it gives Beijing a detailed picture of the maritime environment in which submarine battles will be waged if conflict erupts. U.S. Foreign Affairs. The United States has deployed drones to Nigeria, a U.S. defense official said yesterday. The MQ-9 drones were deployed after 200 U.S. troops arrived in Nigeria last month to provide training and intelligence. U.S. Africa Command said the drones can be used to carry out airstrikes, but will only be used for intelligence gathering and training in Nigeria. Monica Pronchuk reports for AP News. U.S. Immigration Developments. The United States and Costa Rica have signed an initial agreement for Costa Rica to accept migrants from other countries who have been deported by the United States, Costa Rica announced yesterday. U.S. Domestic Developments. The Defense Department will remove media offices from the Pentagon, a department official announced yesterday. An area of the Pentagon known as Correspondence Corridor will be closed immediately, Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said. Journalists will eventually be able to work from an annex outside the building, which Parnell said will be available when ready. Under the latest rules, journalists will have access to the Pentagon for press conferences and prearranged interviews, but they will have to be escorted. The Pentagon Press Association said the announcement is a clear violation of the letter and spirit of last week's ruling, which reinstated press credentials to 7 New York Times journalists and struck down some of the agency's restrictions on news reporting. Jonathan J. Cooper reports for AP News. Senate Republicans told reporters yesterday that they believe they have found a path to ending the 5-week Homeland Security Department shutdown after a meeting with Trump yesterday. Senators Katie Britt, Republican of Alabama, Bernie Moreno, Republican of Ohio, Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, and Steve Daines, Republican of Montana, put forward a plan to pass a funding bill that would fund all of DHS except specific parts of ICE, which is already funded under last year's One Big Beautiful Act, 2 sources said. One source also said a new reconciliation bill to fund more of ICE and possibly include parts of the Save America Act was the possible vehicle after yesterday's meeting. Dordain Carney, Mia McCarthy, and Catherine Tully McManus report for Politico. Hans Nichols and Kate Santelise report for Axios. The Senate yesterday confirmed Mark Wayne Mullen as Homeland Security Secretary in a 54-45 vote. Madeline Engo reports for the New York Times. Trump administration actions. The Trump administration will pay $1 billion to Total Energies, a French company, to walk away from 2 U.S. offshore wind leases, the Interior Department announced yesterday. Total Energies CEO Patrick Pouyanné said the refunded lease fees will finance the construction of a liquefied natural gas plant in Texas and the development of its oil and gas activities. Jennifer McDermott and Matthew Daly report for AP News. The Education Department yesterday announced 2 new investigations into Harvard University, focusing on anti-Semitism on campus and its admission practices. Harvard said the actions are retaliatory as Harvard refuses to surrender its independence and constitutional rights. Michael C. Bender and Alan Blinder report for the New York Times. A Politico analysis found that Trump has approved far fewer disaster aid requests from Democratic-led states, 23%, than Republican-led ones, 89%, since January 2025. Trump rejected most of the requests even after FEMA had documented that the damage met its financial threshold to warrant receiving federal aid. Thomas Frank reports. Trump administration litigation. Journalists at Voice of America yesterday filed a lawsuit accusing Trump administration officials of infringing on reporters' First Amendment rights by turning the news group into a propaganda mouthpiece that published content favorable to Trump without editorial balance. Min-Ho Kim and Zach Montague report for the New York Times. The Supreme Court yesterday questioned whether challenges to counting mail-in ballots after Election Day put forward by the Justice Department and the Republican National Committee could also threaten early voting, which millions rely on. Justices expressed concern over distinguishing between late-arriving ballots and legally cast early votes, with a decision expected by late June that could impact upcoming elections. Josh Gerstein reports for Politico. In case you missed it, yesterday on Just Security, how Iran Anthropic DoD dispute show the need for protective AI. By Chris Rogers. Hegseth didn't revive an ancient warrior ethos. He repeated an American pattern. By Ali Sanei. The court gutted Congress's war power. It's time to give it back. By Michael J. Glennon. Thank you for listening to Just Security's early edition today, March 24th, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.